Welcome to Building Footy Nippers. This is the series documenting how two mates are building a franchise business from scratch. It's called Footy Nippers, and what we are is an early childcare sporting program helping grow strong, kind, and confident kids through storytelling, the multiculture, and the rugby ball. Our goal in this series is quite simple, is to give people a real look into how franchising businesses are built and our mission in helping grow strong, kind, and confident kids. You'll also understand how franchises focus on certain things in order to optimize results, what that looks like early on, our key learnings, both for Troy and I. The best part now is you can join us on the ride. So this is part one, and it's all about how it started. Now it's time to introduce the humans leading the charge, starting with Troy and then on to myself.
I'm Troy Nathan, born and bred in New Zealand. Very fortunate, just like all Kiwis back in New Zealand. I was born with a rugby ball in my hand when I was 4 years old or even younger like that. So everything I did was just with a ball in my hands, playing with my younger brothers, my neighbours, all my best friends in the backyard. So I'm a very proud Māori. My upbringing, my whānau back in New Zealand instilled me with a lot of Māori values, which I still carry today. Throughout my high school experience, I was very fortunate to be selected in those teams that sometimes people don't make. Like every year, I continued on. My dreams become more realistic, and I think it was about the age of like 14, 15. I knew I could have a really good crack at professional rugby. Very grateful for the upbringing that my family had. They always supported me in whatever I wanted to do. So I started off in New Zealand, playing professionally for 6 years. At the age of 23, my grandfather just took me down to the embassy, got me an Irish passport and said, "Look, mate, there's your ticket to go explore the world." So 23 years old, I signed over in Ireland, where I currently are in the moment. I did 4 years there. I did 2 years in Scotland, and I did 7 years in Italy. So I'm very grateful for my experience, and I've met such amazing people along the way. Very grateful for my professional career. So a couple of years before my professional career had finished up, I sort of knew that rugby was not going to take me on for the rest of my life, and I had to look into the transition of, what I needed to do. So, I started up a couple of businesses here and there, and one of the ones that really obviously stand out is Haka Rugby Global, where we do 90 camps a year in 23 countries, and we are one of the biggest rugby camp providers around the world. So just really grateful, bro. Like the experience I've had the last sort of 10 years, the connections I've made, all the kids that are coming through our system. There's been around 18, 20,000 kids that have been through our system. So you can imagine the connections, and I'm truly grateful.
My name's Jimmy Farquhar. I was brought up in Palmerston North, New Zealand. Good old Palmy. I went to university in Otago and then moved up to Auckland for work. After that, I always had a passion growing up for sport. So I did have a corporate job initially to start with, worked at ASB Bank, but my passion has always been, how do I drive sport? How do I get more kids active? And how do I help people be healthy and fit? So being in tech for 8 years, I've built platforms that have helped people get recruited overseas. I've helped build platforms that help centralize data, presenting them to top unions across the world. And ultimately where my true passion ended up lying was helping get kids active through sporting equipment. So one of the more recent things I had was a company called GG. So we utilized challenge games, so utilizing equipment at home where kids could kick into the bin or pass at a target, but we layered on gamification because obviously, as we know, gaming's massive for the younger generations. They all game in some way, shape or form. With that business, we managed to scale, work with some of the biggest rugby unions in the world, including Haka Rugby Global. And also, excitingly, we managed to raise millions of dollars to help scale that. Where we ended up with that is, how do we help coaches worldwide deliver great experiences? Because a lot of the coaches we see at grassroots level, parents or volunteers, 80%. So that obviously has been the journey. And one of the big things we saw in that journey was there was a lack of options for kids between the age of 18 months to 7 years old. So yes, a lot of clubs and a lot of sports start at 5 years old, but a lot of the time kids are not ready for the approach that we believe they provide. And we really need to find ways to excite them and engage them in a level that they understand, that gives them the best chance and the best push to join clubs and get more active. Because if you start them early and you do the right things, you prepare them for a life of healthiness as well. So that's a bit about myself. And I'm also a very, very proud Kiwi as well. And there you have it. Different paths for Troy and I, however, the same realization. The early years matter more than anything. In particular, the first 7 years. That is where a child's coordination, confidence, social skills, resilience, and how they learn are shaped. Yet, as we can see, more kids are moving less than ever. Early learning settings really offered structured movement classes, Screens are replacing play, constantly sitting down, and we're seeing record levels of anxiety and obesity. On top of that, a child's brain develops to 90% by the time they are 5. Therefore, focusing on this area is so important to make sure we can help set them up for a life of fun, healthiness, and opportunity. So Troy and I got together. We met in Ireland. We started mapping out an idea. And the simple belief was if we could help kids more in the earliest years, as said before, we could change that trajectory of their lives. Those early moments really matter. They're full of excitement and possibility. Therefore, we need to make sure we're continuously providing the opportunity. So in Dublin, I got picked up by Troy at the airport, as you can see in one of the photos. We then went and stayed in Dublin, and we were there for around 2 to 3 days. As you can see in also some of the photos, we operated our first call, fleshing our idea out there. We also sat there and had another Guinness, as you can probably tell. But the idea here was to really come together to bring our minds, understand the idea from Troy, who was the original person with the idea, and understand how we can best execute this together. That's where Footy Nippers began to take shape, and that was the first time we actually typed Footy Nippers into our browser. So, what is the lesson of the week? The key thing here is making sure you're solving a real problem and one that people genuinely care about. As a founder as well, you need to make sure you're passionate about this problem because there are going to be so many tough moments in your journey that it's the passion that will keep you going forward, especially when the things get tough. So this is the beginning. Follow along as we build Footy Nippers from the ground up, a franchising business that's set to change the way kids get active and grow into the future.